My name is Marcus Webb, and I'm 53 years old. I've been a single father for the past 12 years, raising my daughter Emma on my own. Running a manufacturing company doesn't leave much time for romance, but I've made peace with that. Emma is in college now, studying environmental science, and I'm proud of the man I've become, steady, reliable, content with my quiet life. That Saturday afternoon in late September, I was driving home from a business meeting, taking the scenic route through the countryside. The leaves were just beginning to turn, painting the hills in shades of amber and gold. At my age, I've learned to appreciate these small moments of beauty. Then I saw the smoke. At first, I thought it was someone burning leaves, but as I came around the bend, my heart dropped. A black sedan was nose down in a ditch, flames licking up from under the hood. Without thinking, I pulled over and ran toward the wreck. That's when I heard her screaming. Inside the car was a young woman in a wedding dress. The beautiful lace gown was smudged with dirt and soot, but what made my blood run cold was the thick chain wrapped around her ankle, padlocked to something beneath the seat. Her eyes were wide with terror, tears streaming down her face. "Please!" she cried out. "Please help me." "I can't get out!" I yanked at the door, but it wouldn't budge. The frame was crumpled from the impact. The heat was intense, the flames spreading quickly. "Hold on," I told her, forcing my voice to stay calm. "I'm going to get you out." I ran back to my truck and grabbed the tire iron. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the adrenaline coursing through my 53-year-old body that hadn't seen this kind of action in decades. I wedged the iron into the door frame and pulled with everything I had. The door groaned and gave way. The woman was sobbing, pulling desperately at the chain around her ankle. I could see now that it was attached to a bolt under the seat. The flames were getting closer, the heat unbearable. "We don't have time for the chain," I said. "I'm going to carry you out, chain and all." I reached under the seat and wrenched at the bolt with the tire iron. Years of weekend projects in my garage had kept me stronger than most men my age. The bolt loosened, then broke free. I pulled her out of the car, chain trailing behind us, and we stumbled up the embankment just as the gas tank exploded. We collapsed on the grass, both of us breathing hard. She was still crying, clutching her torn wedding dress. I could see bruises on her wrists, dirt under her fingernails. This wasn't just an accident. Someone had done this to her. "What's your name?" I asked gently once we'd caught our breath. "Sarah," she whispered. "Sarah Mitchell, I was supposed to get married today." I didn't push for more information. I called 911 and soon the paramedics and police arrived. As they checked Sarah over, she wouldn't let go of my hand. She was 26, she told me later, young enough to be my daughter. But the fear in her eyes was something I understood. It was the look of someone whose trust had been shattered. The police took her statement. Her fiancé, it turned out, had discovered that Sarah had been planning to call off the wedding. She had found out about his gambling debts, his lies, his controlling behavior. When she tried to leave that morning, he'd attacked her, chained her in the car, and driven it off the road. He'd left her there to die and disappeared. They found him 2 days later trying to cross the border into Mexico. Sarah had no family nearby. Her parents had passed away years ago, and her friends had all been his friends first. The hospital wanted to release her, but she had nowhere to go. "She can stay with me," I heard myself saying. The social worker looked at me carefully. "Mr. Webb, that's very kind, but I have a 4-bedroom house," I continued. "My daughter's room is empty now that she's at college. Sarah needs a safe place to recover. I'm offering one." Sarah looked at me with those haunted eyes. "Why would you do this? You don't even know me." I thought about that question. "Because someone helped me once when I needed it most," I said. "After my wife died, I was lost. A neighbor brought dinner every night for 3 months. Never asked for anything in return." She said, "Just help someone else when you can." So that's what I'm doing. Sarah moved into Emma's old room that week. The first few days, she barely came out. I'd leave food outside her door and hear her crying at night. I didn't intrude. I just made sure she knew I was there if she needed anything. Slowly, she began to emerge. She'd sit in the kitchen while I made breakfast, not saying much, just being present. I'd tell her stories about Emma, about building my company from nothing, about the mistakes I'd made and the lessons I'd learned. I didn't try to fix her or offer advice. I just listened when she was ready to talk. One evening, about 2 weeks after she'd moved in, Sarah helped me make dinner. We were chopping vegetables in comfortable silence when she said, "I thought I had to be with someone to matter. That's why I stayed with him so long. I was afraid of being alone." I nodded, understanding. "Being alone isn't the same as being lonely," I said. "I've been single for 12 years. Some days are hard, sure, but I've learned to enjoy my own company. And I've found that the right people come into your life when you're ready for them, not when you're desperate for them." She smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from her. "Is that wisdom supposed to come with age?" I laughed. "Wisdom comes from making enough mistakes to finally figure things out. Age just gives you more opportunities to mess up." Over the next few months, I watched Sarah transform. She started therapy, began working part-time at a bookstore, reconnected with old friends she'd lost touch with. My house became filled with laughter again. Emma came home for Thanksgiving and instantly bonded with Sarah. They were like sisters. "Dad," Emma told me one night, "what you did for her, that's who you are. That's why I'm proud to be your daughter." Those words meant more to me than any business success ever could. By Christmas, Sarah had saved enough to get her own apartment. The day she moved out, we both cried a little. "You gave me my life back," she said, hugging me tight. "I'll never forget that." "You reminded me that I still have something to offer," I replied. "That's a gift, too. We still have dinner together every Sunday." Sarah met a kind man named David at the bookstore, a teacher, patient and gentle. When they got engaged last spring, she asked me to walk her down the aisle. Standing there in that church, watching her marry someone who truly cherished her, I thought about that day on the country road. How a few minutes of courage had changed both our lives. How kindness ripples outward in ways we can never fully predict. I'm 54 now. My life is still quiet, still simple, but it's fuller than it was before. Because I learned something important that day. You don't need to be young to make a difference. You don't need to be perfect to offer help. You just need to show up when it matters and do what you can with what you have. That's enough. That's always been enough. And sometimes, in helping someone else find their way home, you discover that you found your way too.